Hi guys, welcome to my office. I'm trying to do it from the office today because I teach on Thursday mornings. I want to get this up on the website so you can work on your paper. What we're going to be doing today is I want to talk a little bit more about the five authors that we read, and then I want to put you sort of on the right track for your writing assignment that you have this weekend. Um, it was awesome. You guys did a beautiful job. Something that other students in the past had not done before and that I really appreciated was the way that you connected these authors. That was just lovely. We went from Genesis to Strong and from Jefferson to Park. That was really, really quite exciting, and it's proof that you're sort of putting two and two together, that you're connecting the dots, as I say in some of the comments online. So I'm really happy about that. So let's talk about these authors, and then I'll talk a little bit about the paper at the end. Genesis, Jefferson, Strong. You were correct in that these are very much connected, and that both Jefferson and Strong are influenced by that sort of notion of the Old Testament city. In Genesis, of course, the men and probably women who are making the city, remember how they say, so that we may make a name for ourselves. That's the reason why the city is being built. And so one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that part of what happens in here that we have a discrepancy between a religious notion of the community and a secular notion of community. And that the reason why this tower and this city is punished by God is because it's different from what the religious notion of community is. Making a name for ourselves is not the community of God that God is trying to create in the Old Testament, in the Judeo-Christian tradition. The city is for the persons in it, not for God. And so the punishment comes because the city is a secular city. It's not a city of God, it's a city of men. So keep that in mind, because that's sort of the way that Jefferson and Strong are going to think about this. For Jefferson, he talks about great cities, and it's important that it's great cities, the large cities. Small cities are okay. It's the large cities, places like New York. I view great cities as pestilential to the morals, the health, and the liberties of men. So yes, as you said very correctly, these cities were not the cities that we live in today. Health issues and all sorts of things were going on that we don't have to worry about today, at least not in certain cities. But he also talks about the liberties of men. So there is a moral judgment that the city is not the place for progressing, for modernizing, for becoming better. Same thing with Josiah Strong. I mean, he really doesn't like cities. Full of menace, full of menace. And so once again, this is a reverend who is thinking of the city of God, but not the city of men. And so keep that in mind as you think of those three together. Mumford and Park. Both of them are much more recent. They're sort of early 20th century, and they're two really important writers and thinkers about thinking of the city as a place to study. And this is what we do in this class, so I thought it was really important that we read at least a little bit of them. In the case of Park, I want you to think about that line: in making the city, man has remade himself. And this is something that you talked about in your discussions, but I wanted to sort of stress it a little more, that the city changes who people are. The persons that inhabit that space are influenced and transformed by that space. Remember what he says earlier on. It is the world in which he is henceforth condemned to live. The first part of his quote is all about cities is man's greatest creation. Sorry to be using the sexist word man, but you know what I mean. The humanity's greatest creation. And at the same time, it is the place that we're sort of stuck in, that we just have to live in cities now because we don't want to do anything else. This is why urban migration happens in the 19th and 20th century. Everybody wants to move to the city. And so this is part of the dilemma, the paradox, that the cities are humanity's greatest creation, but now that we have created this amazing thing, we only want to live there. And what are the consequences of that? And that is something that we're going to do next week and the week after that. in terms of the readings and the films that we're going to be seeing. And so what I'd like you to do now, let's move on to the paper. What I'd like you to do now is to think about all this stuff. Think about what we did the week before when we were actually looking at visual images of the city. I'd like to put those two together, and I want you to watch this film. It's not really a documentary. It's sort of like a weird experimental film with poetry and film. It's a really interesting movie. It's only 10 minutes long. It's not very long at all. And I'd like you to use everything we've learned, everything we've used, everything we've discussed, and put it in that paper. I'm sort of giving you free rein into sort of how you analyze it. This is more of almost a diagnostic paper. I want to see how you write, how you start a paper, how you end a paper, how you develop ideas, how you use quotes, how you think when you write. And so that's what I've been looking for. As I've said before, I'm sort of lenient at the beginning of class because you don't really know what I'm looking for. And then from there on, I start tightening the balls just a little bit. Okay? I'm so excited. This is really fun. Okay, guys, I'm saying goodbye now. Go and write your papers, and we'll see you around. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Email me. Bye.